is GrooveCube. Today me and Bolide will be walking you through our track I Run to Your Grave. Let's get it. Swass, 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 swass. Let me slip into something more comfortable.
What's up, y'all? What's up, y'all? Today we're going to be doing a video production walkthrough of me and Bolide's track, I Run to Your Grave. Here we go. One night I messaged my friend Bolide. I was like, yo, send me over any songs you got. He sent me over about 3. One of them was I Run to Your Grave. So let's start with him. Bolide, why don't you talk about what you had?
Pen low, pen low, pen low. I'm going to be doing a quick walkthrough on the writing of I Run to Your Grave that's out right now with GrooveCube. Anyway, I'm mostly going to be talking about the writing part of the song, and then GrooveCube's probably going to talk about the production part, or maybe he already did. I don't know. I don't know. So basically, the writing of the song, I was just messing around on my electric guitar in drop C, as one does, and I had these chords, and I have a conveniently placed guitar right here. I left all my fans running. Yeah, basically drop C tuning, capo on the A through high E strings, and the original chord sounded like this. So after that, I brought it to acoustic and started playing something that kind of sounds like this. Yeah, something like that. Alright, so after I wrote that part on the guitar, I brought it to the piano and I was playing it in like a little waltz style, and ended up writing the second section, which served as the chorus. I'll play it real quick and then I'll talk about my thoughts afterwards. Okay, so when I was writing the first section of the song, I want to do a slightly different chord progression than usual. If you listen to any of my songs, they're pretty much all following like a 4, 5, 6, 1 progression. Yeah, I didn't want to do that, so I started at the same place. I started on the 4, but instead of going up to the 5, I went down to the 3, which is a G. We're in the key of E flat major, by the way. Should have said that. Yeah, so we go from A flat to G, 4 to 3, and then we drop down to the 6, which is our C, and then just for a second we kind of hit the 7 in the bass, you know, that guy, back up to the 1, our E flat. That's how that section goes. When I was thinking about voicing it, I kind of just have this A flat major 9 chord, just because I wanted to have this E flat and B flat kind of repeating throughout the first section of the song, because that kind of reinforces the E flat majorness of it, if you want to call it that. Also in the right hand, that's different from the guitar. I just added this D up to E kind of thing in my little arpeggio. So what we got was, and then here we just do like a 4 to 3 movement in the thumb on the left hand. Yeah, after that, when we get to our 3 chords, see, we keep the same voicing. But then we do a little different thing with the inner voices here. And then we do this, this is one of my favorite things, is a 3 to 4 voicing with in this case, G to an A flat, which is the, I don't know, that's one of my favorite ones to do. Then we kind of do the same thing when we get down to the C and all that. Although right here we kind of change it a little bit, just to make it a little interesting. And then we just get to the 1 chord. And then I probably got to change the angle here so I can film the super jank. But so for the second section, I wanted to do something. This time I was thinking of doing a completely different chord progression than usual, than I usually do. So instead of starting at the same place and moving differently, I'm starting kind of where I usually end up. So it starts on the 1 chord, and then we walk down just for a moment, and then go down to the 4 chord, which sounds different because usually the progression goes like 1, 6. But yeah, we're going 1, and then down to that A flat. That was kind of to the A flat, to the B flat, and then just to the C again, and back to the 1 chord. Also, this part we start on the 5th scale degree in the right hand, when before we were starting on the 3. And that part sounds kind of like this. Also for this section, if you'll notice that instead of going up to this E flat, B flat, we're going just to the E flat, G. So it has kind of like a tighter feel. So. And we do the same thing with the 7 here, where we play this little smashed guy. But we do also another movement that I like doing, which is the 5-4-3. That's a good guy. And then yeah, so your ear kind of thinks it would go down to the 6, but it doesn't sound as exciting. See, so it sounds very almost jarring jumping down to the A flat like that. Yeah, it sounds very different. Next, after that, we kind of do this just for half of a bar. We walk up from the A flat to the B flat here, which sounds kind of like this. So. We get this going. That's another good one. We have stacked on top of each other the 7-1 movement with our D, E, and then the good old 3-4-3 guy going. I like that one a lot. So I'll play that again real quick. And then we just arrive at the 6 chord. Classic deceptive cadence stuff. Thank you, music theory. 1. After that, yeah, we just walk back up to the 1 chord. I went to the Ableton and put all that in there. Put some basic sounds. I'll show you that here. Okay, so here we are in Ableton. Originally, I recorded acoustic guitar for the main arpeggio, but then I thought it sounded better to use a guitar VST. I'm just using a sound in Expand. And I thought the like quantized timing sounded a little better. I'm not sure, but you can be the judge. I can't hear anything. Hold. Okay, now that my monitors are on, this is what it sounded like after quantizing and using a guitar VST. I do have like a delay, giving it kind of like a stereo effect guy. You know, a little bit of EQ. I've recorded like some chord guys that have a little different sound. You know, something like that. I really like accordion sounds. They're cool. And then yeah, GrooveCube put some vocals on it, and then he will talk about what he did.
Thanks, Bolide. So Bolide sent me over that track, and I was just really in my feelings. I was trying to make vocals along to it, and I ended up coming up with the idea of the graves. So I was thinking about a grave as kind of like a trinket or like a bracelet or something that you would run to after a relationship is ended. You kind of hold on to these things, and you just kind of keep them around. You don't have the guts to throw them away, but you just keep them because they meant something to you in the past, but they don't really mean that anymore. They're kind of just like a grave now. They'll take you back to a dead relationship. So that was kind of what the whole premise was. Then I kind of realized that, okay, this can be about death also. I know right when I finished the song, my favorite cat died, and it really kind of just put into perspective that, okay, this song can mean a lot of different things. Anyway, so like the bracelet idea, there's actually one in the painting right here. This is the 63 by 63 foot painting that I made for the song. There's just a lot of layering in it, a lot of paint, a lot of materials. So I'll do a zoom into that so you can see the bracelet and the fine details. Alright, so let's dig into the production of the song. We're heading over to the computer. What's up, YouTube? What's up, ladies and gentlemen? So, today we're going to walk you through the production of I Run to Your Grave. I should open up the project. So, I took what Bolide sent me, which was about probably to this section. I added the chorus, and then we didn't really know what to do for a while. And then I was like, alright, well, let's build it up. So I started to kind of build it up, and then eventually it turned into a drop. So let's just talk about what makes the track. I'm just going to go in order from top to bottom and talk about each element. So we have the master drums, which mainly sound like this. We got a build up. And that's fun. And then we have the big drums. Ba-na-na. And then you have the drums here, which is kind of like the outro. First of all, let's give some props to this reverse cymbal. Oh yeah, can't get enough of that. Oh yeah, in the mix. Oh yeah, that just really gets us to the next section. So shout out that reverse cymbal. I got a lot of things going on with this. Didn't even EQ it, so that's great. So first we have the kick. So what I did here was I soloed out the kick, and I also soloed out the snare. This is off, so the snare is in here, and as well as the other percussion elements. But this is just so we can sidechain everything else to the kick and the snare. If you listen in the mix, the kick and snare punch through because of sidechain compression, so everything is sidechaining to the kick and the snare. Basically all the other elements duck down to make the kick and snare shine through the mix. So you can really hear the kick and snare shine through if you listen. Alright, so for the kick, I just did my main setup, which I do to a kick. So here's the drum rack, and I just soloed out this, which is the kick. And then we compressed it a little bit. I gave it the Oxford inflator, and then I can EQ it if I need to, and I'll do some glue compression. And then auto filtering is just coming in at certain parts. I also have the volume changing quite a bit. So if you listen, the kick kind of goes up and down in volume. So I have the volume automating here, and then I also have it automating here as well. It sounds more realistic because the volume isn't just hitting the same exact volume over and over. It's kind of going up and down like it would if it was a realistic person hitting it. So next we have the rest of the drums, which sound like this. So what I did here is I went into each element and I EQ'd it and did certain things to it depending on what it needed. So like here, got some reductive EQ and compression. Here's just reductive EQ, oh, and a little bit of additive EQ. Then to the whole group, I did just the saturation, reductive EQ, compression. Then we got some additive EQ with the VEQ4, then some more glue compression to make sure everything gets glued together. All right, and then we also have the ride going on. This just keeps us on tempo, you know? Ah! Alright, and then you have the second kick, which just has a delay on it. Then you have the second snare, which also has a delay on it. Alright, and now let's talk about the big drums. So first of all, we have the kick into the limiter. Now this is just a little transient of the kick. So if you listen to the regular kick, it sounds like this. But this just sounds like this. So it's just the beginning, like, transient of it. And then that's also the kick with a cymbal or hi-hat. Now when you mix into a limiter, you can kind of just throw a bunch of things into it and it'll make sure it doesn't go above 0 or whatever you set it to. But since I'm throwing the kick into it really hard at that certain point, everything else ducks down and it acts as like kind of sidechain compression to that kick. So I only have it at -8, but if I wanted to, I could put it at 0, and then it would be super loud. And you can really hear that, but I wanted to have it a little bit subtle. So the regular drums go at -10, but this goes at -8, so it just pushes it a little bit harder. So then we'll talk about the actual drums. Now since we're going from these realistic drums, which sound like this, into something that sounds like this, we needed this little build-up to get us used to the new kick. So that way just you could get a little taste of it, and then you get the full thing. And what I did here was it was a regular kick, and then I kind of made it decay a little bit faster so the other snares can have their place. So this layered all together sounds like this. So we have the kick, snare, clap, distant clap, and then kind of like a white noise kind of snare. So this takes up all the high end, and then this takes up kind of the mid-range. This also takes up some of the more mid-range, and then this is just the kind of beef of it. You can also see that the snares aren't exactly hitting all at the same time. That way you can hear this before you hear the actual kick and its perceived loudness. Then also this kind of hits at the end. That way everything doesn't hit at the same time. It has its place in time, and it also has its place in frequencies. And then we got the hi-hats, which kind of auto-filter in a little bit. I'm using just the EQ8. You see it starts here, and then it kind of just comes in. And then it also does the same thing here. But on this one, I'm also transposing it down an octave. I'm doing the same trick here with the snare. So it's a regular snare, and then it's a transposed snare. That way it just doesn't sound like the same snare hitting over and over. So these hi-hats are also panning left and right, so it's 15 left, 15 right, and that's every time it hits. And then at the end, I believe it just goes just center. Here we have some crashes and similar things that were in the intro drums. So here's all together. This part is really important coming up. You hear that snap? Oh yeah. Can't get enough of that. Yes. Alright, so those are the big drums. Sick. Next we're going to the basses. This is just here. Ignore it. We got the big sub. Sounds like this. You got your sine wave here. And then you got this guy, which takes up the rest of the frequencies. And what I did here was I added a phalanger, just subtle, and then I Haas effect it. Now what this does is I take the signal and I hard pan it left, hard pan it right, except one of them, as you can see, has a delay on it, so they're not hitting at the exact same time, so it's like this instead of this. That way it just sounds super loud. So that takes up all the sides, and then this takes up the middle. So you can listen, this is all middle, this is all sides. Layer them together. You got your good old sub bass. We also have this sub bass here at the beginning. This is just made a massive with some glue compression monoing and sidechaining to the kick. And then for the build up, we have this analog sub. Similar things going on here. This one kind of goes a little wonky. It detunes a bit, so that makes it a little interesting. You have a detuning there, going up a bit, down. Just kind of makes it more unique and adds a little bit of flavor. And then next we have my favorite bass, which is Bolide's live sub bass guitar. Listen to that. So what I did here was I EQ'd the really low end, a little bit of the mids and the highs. I did some compression because it's a live instrument, and then we sidechained to the kick and snare. Got some additive EQ, and then a little bit of gains. Gave it a little bit of medium reverb, limited at -10. So let me talk about the reverbs real quick. So I have all of my reverbs on returns. So as you can see, like the drum is a short reverb, which is just a really fast decay. Then we got a medium decay. So you have your drum short, your drum medium, your close reverb, your medium reverb. You got your room for the vocal, you got your vocal plate. Then you got your far dark stuff, which is just a really far away reverb. When you send more than one element to those returns, they actually are in the same exact place. So the whole idea of reverb is to make it feel like you're in that space. So since you're sending everything to that same place, it'll sound even more like it's in that same place. Alright, so let's talk about the forbidden group 28. Alright, so let's just go through all the things that are in group 28. We'll listen to it all together first. So when I first started mixing this group, I was like, frick, this is going to be tough. It took me a while to figure out what I was going to do, but I basically organized everything based on where it was going to sit in the mix. So that's why things are labeled close center, center, and like wide. So I started with the guitar. So it's just a regular guitar here. So it looks like there's two channels, but this is off for most of it. You can see it comes on only at the chorus. And here. So pretty much anywhere where there were going to be vocals and guitar, I split them into two channels. So when the vocal is coming in also, the channels are hard pan right and hard pan left. And again, I have a little bit of delay on one of the channels that comes on for that. Right there. This is because the vocal sits in the middle, and then the guitar would kind of muddy it up and kind of distract the vocal. So I split the guitar to the sides, left the vocal in the middle so everything has its place, and then we're good to go. You know what I'm saying? So those are the guitar. I got some fun panning that happens on the build-up. Alright, so next is the live guitar that comes in. Now this is just very subtle. There was already a lot of things going on in the mix here, so I kind of had to figure out what to do with it, so I just kind of subtly brought it in. There it is. In the mix. Next we have the NES, which is just the video game kind of sound. I didn't have the VST, so Bolide had to freeze it and send it to me. Got some saturation going on, a lot of reductive EQ, there's some harsh frequencies in there, additive EQ, and then some delay. This also comes in here, and then it ends up here. Next we got this, which is just some chords on top of each other with expand. Again, saturation, delay, reductive EQ, sidechain into the kick. Y'all know the drill. Actually, that's just regular compression. I think the whole group is sidechained here. So I took out the low end there, glue compressed it, and then here's all the sidechaining that happens. Since there's so many different drums that this group hits, it hits the first kick, the second kick, the first snare, the second snare, and then also the big drums. So this just has every sidechain I could fit on that group. All right, next we got these chords. Bolide said they muddy it up. I don't know. Maybe, what if I like mud? I like mud. Y'all ever eat peanut butter and then just get it all over you? Welcome back. My name's GrooveCube. Today we're going to be talking about our track with Bolide, me, and our track. Let's talk about these bells. Alright, so these bells, super cool, super fun. A lot of reductive EQ. They're made with expand, and then we got some saturation going on, and then we got some delay, some EQing, and then we got all the reductive EQing, some more reductive EQing. Because those are just some harsh frequencies. Y'all want to hear harsh frequency? Listen to that. Yeah, that's no fun. I'm gonna have to drop the bells, just play a little bit. And I'm messing with the volume automation so that way it doesn't decay for too long and mess with the track. Alright, next thing is this. This is a this, as much as this could be this. Very important dimension expander that's off. Very important. Reductive EQ, lots of fun reductive EQ there. And then we have this guy. Picks up a lot of the high frequencies, saturation, a lot of reductive EQ, and then some additive EQ. Alright, and next we have the last part of the Group 28. Big old Group 28, shout out Group 28. Now this is just the ominous background noise all the way back here in your headphones. Here, let me turn on the mastering chain so you can hear it better. There you go. And I got some erosion going on, doing its thing, make it sound unique. Alright, so that's Groove 28. Let's hear it all together with the mastering chain on. And that's why we're keeping the mastering chain off for most of it, because my CPU can't handle it. Alright, so that's the good old Groove 28. Next we have Fix the Levels of CH. Woo! This is pretty much the drop. It's made of a bunch of different things. Let's see here. So originally I wanted the drop to be kind of more melodic and not really a drop, but I ended up kind of doing a little bit of both. So it's got a lot of organic elements such as like string instruments, violins, and it also has the more electronic elements. So we'll go through this. First we have what's in the center. So we have a little piano going on here. And you can see that also EQ's in there. So right here we have it panning a little left and right, which is fun. It's the word of the day. Excuse my cough. I'm a little sick. Sorry about that. Anyways, now let's get back to the song. And then next we have the mids, which is more of a synth. Alright, here we have another synth. So if you notice, all of these are playing different notes. Of course it's a huge chord stack, but I split them up differently depending on what needs what. So like the piano has different chords. They probably go a little bit higher or lower. This is the mid, so it doesn't have all the high chords, and then this is just everything. Then here it's a wide one, so this is probably higher chords. Yeah, and this is a piano. So this is a violin, and this is panned a little to the left, which counteracts this, which panned a little to the right. So you have your two centers, and then you have things that get a little panny. And these also start over here, so they kind of introduce you into the drop earlier. And on this, looks like I have some arpeggiators that maybe turn on at some point. Nah, they don't turn on at all. I have some saturation for strings that comes on at the drop, so it sounds a lot louder. Then we have a little bit of erosion that builds up over here for this section. Good stuff. A lot of reductive EQ in this as well. Next we have wide. Good old wide, which is just a violin, and then this also comes in at the drop. Next we got these guys. These are just kind of subtle for effect. Again, you got the good old arpeggiators that don't turn on. The Haas effect that's on for that portion. And then you got some saturation, reductive EQ, and the works. Alright, next we got just this wide kind of like riser that builds up for the drop. Gotta have your good old risers in there. Just a serum. I got a guitar rig doing a little bit. Hear that on and off. So that just adds a lot of kind of like saturation, distortion or something. So here we got this guy. Now this is just the high end. Again, it's wide and high. We got a lot of panning going on. I wanted to get pretty intricate with the panning. I believe we had, yep, a little pitch shift in there. This one's very important. Alright, now we get to the really kind of more electronic portion of the drop. Again, you gotta have those arpeggiators that aren't on, very important. Serum, got some OTT on there, shout out OTT. Here we got this guy. That's like really what makes up the sound in the drop. So again, got the arpeggiator that doesn't turn on. And then you got serum. Pause effect, reductive EQ, OTT, additive EQ, and then some changes in volume, which don't change. Again, very important. Make sure you're organized. Make sure you have lots of reverbs that are there but off. Your CPU will thank you. And then we got this guy, which just is a fun little panning guy. Oh yeah, that's good stuff. Fast decay on that. And look! Oh my gosh! The arpeggiator's on. Oh, only right there. Very important. And then of course you have your MIDI, because we all know it took me months to figure out what notes to use for this drop, because there's like one chord that I couldn't figure out. I had to hit up the fan. Shout out to the fan. Shout out to the fan. It gave me the knowledge to figure out the chords. No, I'm just kidding. Shout out Tiny Waves and Bolide and anybody else who helped me with the chords. Yeah, so that's pretty much the drop. Again, it's all these layers layered together to make this. Alright, so that was the drop. Now we're going to talk about the vocals. I'm sorry. I'm just going to say I'm sorry. Because the vocals are very unorganized. I'm glad I just did that. Alright, so we have the decapitator. Let's just talk about what's on the chain, because that's easier to do. We have a decapitator, CLA vocals, giving us some treble and compression. That's it. Everything else is off, but it's a really good thing that it does. We got the gate going on. It's going to be hard to show you guys some things since the mastering chain isn't on, and the gate is going to be not letting the quiet things come through, but when it comes together as a one piece, it will work. Alright, so we have reductive EQ, and then we have some more reductive EQ. Then we have some more reductive EQ. Then we got some glue compression, multiband dynamics, sidechain compression, additive EQ, de-essing. De-essing's great, this plugin's great. You just pick a frequency that's the worst, and then it'll de-ess it for you. I have these de-essers that also come on at certain parts of the song when it is more tingy on certain frequencies. So as you can see, this one is a different one that's 2801, and then this one is 7663. So like that stops the S's and the T's, but a T and an S are different, so they're different frequencies. Also, very important, reverb off. Then we got some delay that comes on at times, just to kind of get it going. And then we have the King's microphone, which is a good old fun plugin, comes on just at the end there. It kind of gives it that like good old sizzle like an old microphone. But we can talk about what goes on here, because at the end, let me actually turn on the mastering chain so you can hear it better. So you just kind of have that like long I'm sorry. Happy Halloween. And then you have me saying Happy Halloween, and then a bye-bye. The whole story behind this, I'll show you the rest of the clip. It's kind of just like, when I first started the song, I had this at the beginning of the song, and it was just kind of like a funny thing to do.
Merry Christmas.
Yo, Happy Halloween. Yeah. Oh.
So that was just at the start of the song, when I first started working on it as a joke, and I just decided to keep it. And basically, it started with that little, and then it goes right into the I'm sorries.
I'm sorry.
So we got some Vocaloid there. We have lots of auto pitch that comes on just for this one part, because I wanted it to sound almost robotic. So I had all these auto pitches on.
I'm sorry.
Then it comes on again there, which is my voice.
I'm sorry.
And that's layered with this,
I'm sorry.
which is the robot.
I'm sorry.
Another version of that.
I'm sorry.
Another version of that. So the Vocaloid is still there, but my voice is coming in also. And this is low. Again, it's quiet, and this is in the left ear. So pretty much this section is just distorted a little differently. I have some erosion on it, I believe some little alter boy. So I have it down about 4 formats, which gives it that little bit of difference. So with the vocals, there's this main layer right here, and for that I have M auto pitch and Melodyne, which lets me kind of take it, put it into MIDI form, and I can adjust it this way. Never trust a perfect song, basically. So I always make sure it's a little bit not exactly on 0. Well, sometimes on 0, but make sure it's at least like 3 or 2 or 1 CTs away, whatever CT means. And then we have layers. Here's the harmony group. I can show you some of those. So you think about your musical notes as chords, and that's basically how you harmonize. So you normally go up like 2 or 3 steps when you're making a chord. So you would do the same thing with the vocals. Whatever sounds good, really. I kind of just experimented with other notes that are in the same key until I found some that complemented the root note well. Down here we have some vocoder that comes in. It's clipping in and out because I don't have the mastering chain on, so it's not going through that gate all the way. Alright, so this is just the I Run group. And with this, I just did the 1 and then I put it in Melodyne and it just kind of doubled it. Next we have the little doots and dots that comes in. Doots and dots. And this is just switching from left and right a little bit. That's fun. And then we got this guy. For some reason, that's just all the way down here. And there's more. We have the Vocaloids. The Vocaloid army of doot-to-doos. O's. Of OEOs. This just kind of goes on throughout the whole track.
I'm sorry.
And then for the actual chorus, we have, so for the chorus, we have a little bit of the Vocaloid coming in. As you can see, I have it just coming in at certain parts. So it's not giving the full effect, but it's just a little bit at certain enunciations. But it's not getting like the initial start of the phrase. That way it sounds human, but it just kind of ends with a little bit of a Vocaloid kind of taste. Alright, more layers, more Vocaloid. Miku. Oh yeah, that's a good part. Alright, so those are the vocals. They're a mess, but I made it work. This is just for the vocoder, just the notes that are going through the vocoder. Great, here are the effects. This is, I love doing effects. They're probably like my favorite things to do. I always got to include some of these, you know, doors open and whatnot. We just have like some impacts, some crashes, which go on throughout the track. They get a little more intricate at the drop. So with a lot of these, I think I'm transposing them probably down an octave or 2. And then I believe the group has a saturation and EQ, compression, additive EQ, you know, the drill. Blah, 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 left side, right side, glue compression. So then we have this engine that's going on. Oh wait, it's just kind of stalling. Just transposed that, EQ'd it. Oh, I EQ'd it. I took the telephone setting and I just added a little bit there. And we got some vinyl dust, which just pans from the left. And I also transposed that a lot, as you can see. Again, this was just the car noise. And again, it comes on at the end. It closes. And then we have this little good old recording. And this just pans left and right. It's just kind of like a click from an old recording I had for another one of my songs. Just fun, you can see here. And then again, it comes over here. Alright, so that was pretty much the track. And then of course we took it and we had to master it. This is my go-to mastering chain. I got the Oxford Inflator, EQing, which just kind of tames that high end and any bad frequencies. GrooveCube, which got some multi-band dynamics going on. SSL compressor. And then you got another compressor with the Puke Child. High band, I have about 3 dBs of gain, 2 dBs, 2 dBs, and then 4 at the end to kind of boost the low end. Then we got some exciting imager. Of course, you don't want too much wideness in the bottom end, but you do want a little tiny bit. That's why I have it at -88. Got the sausage fattener at 1%. And then we got the good old limiter. So that all together is the mastering chain. All right, and I think that'll do it for the walkthrough. leave a comment, like, subscribe. Give me a reason to live. That would be nice.
We're not going to go into
All
drums.
right, bye.
One last thing I did want to talk about was like just one thing that could maybe help start songs. Let me find it. There's a Twitter account here, Politra_color. I don't know why I clicked on that again. But they just have lots of like computer generated color palettes that are really cool, and not just for visual artists, but you can. I've had a couple of these where I'll look at them and then try to like, kind of write something that kind of describes the color. Not sure how useful that is, but.
Run to your grave.